So over the past weekend, I was able to play FragPunk. If you don't know what FragPunk is a game that was originally showcased at the Xbox Showcase and is a 5v5 first-person shooter that is essentially trying to be a jack of all trades type of FPS game, and it does a job magnificently. What I mean by jack of all trades is it is the best comparable would be Valorant with arcade shooter mechanics. So you do have the hero shooter element that you would expect with different characters and abilities. You have the tactical side of the things where you have an economy, round-based gameplay, bomb defusal type as you would expect in Valorant. And you have the arcade mechanics like movement and gunplay of, say, Call of Duty, all mashed into one with its own art style. And safe to say, having spent the weekend playing it, what I played was absolutely fantastic. This game was fire. I had an absolute blast playing this game. However, it was an alpha build, and there was one glaring issue about it, which I'll touch on it. Let's start with the positives of my experience. First and foremost, performance. On my PC, this game ran like a dream. I was getting over 100 FPS max settings with ease. The netcode was good. The hit registration was good. I didn't really experience anything in the form of bugs and glitches. Overall, this alpha build ran magnificently. I like the graphics. I like the art style. My personal favorite thing about the presentation, the audio. Gun audio is absolutely fantastic. The guns themselves feel amazing to shoot. It was absolutely a blast to shoot the guns, move around the map. A lot of the core aspect of the game was on point, even in this early stage. So kudos to that. We did have access to 4 different maps as well as 2 game modes. The one game mode is your traditional team deathmatch, self-explanatory. The other one was Shard Clash. Now, Shard Clash is their competitive mode, at least for this build, and it's basically a bomb defusal. Think of it Valorant, think of it Counter-Strike, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It is exactly that type of game mode. Those were the modes that were available to us. And of course, we had a roster of about, I believe, 10 characters, each of which have their own abilities that can be used. So these were things that, again, it encompasses the best of everything. The summarization of what type of game this is, like I said, it's Valorant with arcade shooter mechanics. And when the game launches, which unfortunately will not be until 2025, it will be a free-to-play game, and it will be on Xbox and PC. Nothing for PlayStation players as of yet, as far as I know. And since it is free-to-play, you'll have your traditional free-to-play tropes, battle pass, in-game shop, cosmetics, etc. That is the gist of what the game is until you get to the things that make it its own and give FragPunk its own identity. And I'm not just talking about aesthetics. The number one thing to me that gives FragPunk its own identity is the card system. The card system, essentially what it is in between rounds, you will choose the rules for that round. What that means is your team will be presented with 3 cards, and you vote on using your currency to which card to activate. And if you have enough currency, you can activate all 3 cards. If you don't like the cards, you have the ability to re-roll them to see if you can get a better draw. This is to me, what makes it have its own identity first and foremost, because these modifiers can change the gameplay immensely, round to round, keeping the game fresh. For example, one round you could put Fog of War, meaning that the entire map is engulfed in fog, and you can't use sniper rifles because you can't see beyond 10 meters. Another card could be it disables a bomb site and you only have access to one bomb site, or another one can give you an additional bomb site. Other buffs and debuffs can be lifesteal, faster bomb defusal time, more round time, less round time, etc. You get where you're going with this. These cards define each round and actually lay out how things can be played out. It can also tilt the odds of any round in your favor or against you, depending on the draw of the cards that you get. More on that later. Then, of course, to me, the coup de grace of the Shard Clash game mode. Shard Clash, unlike Valorant's bomb defusal mode where it's first team to win 13 rounds, this one is best of 7. First team to win 4 rounds wins the game. However, how they settle a 3-3 tie is different than any other shooter that I've played. If you reach 3-3 and you're going to play out the final round is played out in a 1v1 duel setup. You'll start off by choosing the order of which your team will shoot, and then you have to eliminate the other team in 1v1 scenarios, where your health pool and your utility usage carries on from matchup to matchup. The first team to eliminate all 5 players on the enemy team will win that round and in turn win the match. It is a very creative way. It is a high pressure, high tense situation because when you are in this duel mode, everybody is watching you on your team. Everyone's watching you. It's a 1v1 situation. And to me, it is the most creative way to solve overtime. It is a creative way to solve a tiebreak. This has never been done in a first-person shooter that I'm aware of. I know pro sports, such as NHL regular season, has a shootout. FIFA Euro Cup, World Cup, they have shootouts or penalty kicks to determine winners if there's a tie. So this is very similar to that, where it's a 1v1 duel. And to me, it was my favorite part about the whole experience. I love the idea of the duels. Very creative, very original. Absolutely loved it. Favorite part. So, as you can probably tell, I enjoyed my time with this game. I loved it. It was a blast to play. I had a lot of fun playing it. But there is a big nagging issue that surrounded this playtest. And what it was competitive balance. The balance of this game was absolutely atrocious. I mean, you have some character abilities that have no counterplay whatsoever. You have certain cards that can be drawn that also have no counterplay. For example, one of the cards you can get when selecting the cards is Big Head mode. Essentially what this means is if you have this card on your team and you activate it, the enemy team, all of their members will have a big head, making it very easy to hit headshots, and there's no counterplay. There's nothing you can do as the team with the big heads to counteract this. You have it, it's like, oh well. The card system, as fresh as it is to keep the game's replayability high, like I like the card system, it keeps replayability high, it keeps the game fun, it keeps the game fresh, but it's a disaster from a competitive standpoint because you have cards with no counterplay, and a round could be won or lost simply by the cards that you get drawn. Essentially, luck can determine whether or not you're going to win a round before the round even begins. One round, particularly on my team, we were able to get not only the big head modifier, but also a headshot damage increase modifier on the same draw. So, of course, we, using our currency, activate both cards. We steamrolled the enemy team. They had big heads and they took extra damage, and there's no way to counter that. Zero counterplay whatsoever. So these are the kinds of things where it's like, okay, you look at it, and when you pick your cards, you can see what the enemy team has available to them. You don't know what cards they're choosing, but you know what cards have been drawn and they can pick from. And you can see it in advance, but it doesn't change the fact that when you have a big head, there's no counterplay to that. And you're greatly handicapped. The other issue, sticking with balance, comes in the form of the economy in between rounds. So as opposed to Valorant, where you have an in-game currency where you have a pool of money that you have to spend for both your abilities, armor, and weapons, in this game, weapons are of a finite quantity, meaning the sniper rifle in the game, you only have access to one of it the entire match. Unless you get a card that gives you a freebie or you pick up one from a dropped enemy or teammate, you only get one per round. Per match, sorry. And that's how it is across the board for most of the weapons. You get one for the match. If you die and you lose it, that's it. There is ways to get it back, but that's the gist of it. The problem with this is, unlike Valorant, where the sniper rifle takes up half of your money, total amount of money that you can have, just to buy it, giving it a high risk, high reward factor. In here, anybody can have one right off the hop without earning it. What this means is that if you're on a team that's coordinated, you guys can identify who your best sniper is and then just give them one every single round. And they can literally play the entire game with a one-shot sniper. It's a bit of an issue. There needs to be more of a risk-reward factor, specifically when it comes to the sniper, because of that reason. It's different when you're playing team deathmatch and you can constantly respawn, but when you're playing round-based gameplay, it's a bit of an issue when you have a one-shot sniper that's not punishing enough for those who choose to pick it. There's not enough risk-reward factor. Whereas in Valorant, Counter-Strike, as I said, you spend half your money to get it, and yeah, it's a one-shot kill and you can dominate with it, but if you die and you lose it, well, there goes half your money, and you possibly gave the enemy a free one. So there's definitely a balancing issue. And the last thing, sticking with balance, is also the map design. Some of the maps, there was 4 maps, I know for sure 1 and 2 of them were good designed. Other ones, not so much, because it was just so much twists and turns, and the map that you have on display in the top corner of your screen doesn't do a good enough job telling you where to go. And it can be very, very confusing. And the map layout, it's a lot of flanking routes and a lot of angles. Again, they're trying to tread that line between arcade shooter and tac shooter. And some of the map designs, it doesn't work for a 5v5 round-based tactical gameplay. It makes it very attacker-sided. As in, defending sites is a pain because of how many routes there are in combination with the lack of defensive base utility. As opposed to Valorant, where you have designated roles, as in the Sentinel role is meant for defense, you don't really have designated roles for the characters in this game. And that, because of this, it makes defending all that much more harder while making attacking all that much more easier. So overall, FragPunk has a lot of promise. It ran great, looked great, played great, fun to play. But as a competitive shooter, there is major concerns regarding game balance across the board. So if they're trying to make this into a long-term viable competitive game, there's a lot of work to do here. Thankfully, a lot of the issues are fixable, and the game is far out from release, as it's not scheduled for release till 2025. But overall, keep an eye on FragPunk in the future. There's supposed to be more future tests, as I'm aware of, and keep tabs on it, as this game could be something special when it launches. It looks very promising, but there's definitely work that needs to be had, especially with balancing. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.